Namaste, you're on the Nation at 5. I'm Anand Narsimhan coming to you live from the newsroom here at CNN News 18. Ladies and gentlemen, Imran Khan is nothing but a puppet, and it's proven here. Not just has the army totally snubbed his request or his the PMO saying that the announcement of the next DG ISI should have happened from the PMO. Rawalpindi has very clearly told Islamabad, you listen to us, we don't listen to you. And the same thing is happening even with the appointment of the new DG ISI. Investigations editor Manoj Gupta getting us these details that despite the PMO asking for all the options and the PM wanting to meet at all the options for the DG ISI, the only name that was sent was that of Nadeem Anjum. That was the only name sent. So the army very clearly saying you don't have options. Your only option is to sign and agree to whatever we say. Imran Khan and the PMO had tried to say that they wanted to ensure that the ISI is treated like a core or another division of the of the army. That has also not been allowed. And Nadeem Anjum met Imran Khan. The meeting, we are given to understand, was held in a very cordial atmosphere, ran for about half an hour. But more importantly, within a week, the appointment order will be out. So there is no postponing the issues till end of December, despite Imran's wife, the tantric wife, Bushra Begum, saying that till the solar eclipse, don't make any administrative changes. It's not going to be good for your regime. He has to bow down. That means it's the army and it's Rawalpindi that's calling the shots. Pathikrit Pine with us. Pathikrit, so Nadeem Anjum is the next DG ISI. We had confirmed this here at CNN News 18. But despite the Pak civilian government, quote unquote, civilian government wanting to stamp its authority, Rawalpindi has told Islamabad, you listen to us. You are there because of us.
Anand, had it been a different kind of a scenario, situation or any other time when the Pakistan would not have been under the FATF or because of its activities in Afghanistan, I'm telling you there would have been a coup by now. Imran Khan would have been kicked out. That is simply not happening because Pakistan is itself in a precarious situation and the army doesn't want to create another issue out of it because the blame would be on the army. Secondly, I think this man is trying to bite a little more than what he can chew. Here is a man who actually is basically a puppet. He was always told, considered as a selected prime minister. So he was created, he was made the prime minister by the deep state of Pakistan, controlled by the ISI, controlled by the Pakistan army. Today, if he suddenly says that I'm going to dictate the terms, certainly it's not going to happen. He wanted Faiz Hamid to actually remain in his place as the ISI chief. He thought that Faiz Hamid is the one who actually supports him, but he fails to understand that Faiz Hamid himself is a core army man. He would love to go back if he has to become a general. For his next promotion, he would have to become a corps commander. He would go back. He was just doing what he was told to do by the army. And so today, I mean, I've never heard anywhere else that policy decisions are taken by the dictums of the soothsayer wife of the prime minister. Here, the grapevine is that it's because of Bushra Bibi or Pinky Pini that she's called. Yeah. She is actually calling the shots. That shows the precarious condition of Pakistan and its puppet prime minister Imran Khan. But frankly speaking, so far as India is concerned and the larger aspect of Pakistan being a terror hub is concerned, nothing is going to change. It's going to remain. True. It's an internal affair where this has happened for a long time. Imran Khan is simply lucky that he has not yet faced what Benazir Bhutto or Zulfikar Ali Bhutto had faced.
Well, those days are not so far away because yesterday here on CNN News 18 on the right stand, we also put out the loop, the coup-to-coup loop that Pakistan seems to be stuck in. They engineer a coup on the guise of trying to bring in democracy and create an uprising and say things will get better, and then things deteriorate again, and then there are governance issues. Then again the army comes in again and says, I'm going to enact another coup just so that they can start the entire cycle. So this coup-to-coup cycle is something which we've spoken about. But here is another aspect. It was late last evening that Pakistan was retained in the grey list by the FATF. Turkey, its friend, was added into the FATF. And today, on the 22nd of October 2021, as we commemorate this as a black day, when Pakistani army sent the Kabylis and raiders and Pakistani military personnel disguised as raiders to try and invade Jammu and Kashmir, and there was genocide, massacre, rape, loot that was conducted. There is another video that puts Pakistan in the dock, that highlights and showcases Pakistan as a perpetrator of terror and a nation that is fomenting terror on Indian soil. This video has now come to the fore, and this was again recovered from another terrorist who was arrested. And here in the video, it very clearly shows the Pakistani handler sitting there in the video and explaining how to dismantle, assemble, and operate an AK-47. Now you have a look at this, and Pathikrit, what more? It's not grey list. It's blacklisting, and more importantly, UN sanctions that need to be called upon against Pakistan, because this is clear evidence, close on the heels of the 19-year-old who said that he is from Punjab, Pak Punjab, and he was paid 20,000 rupees and a promise of another 30,000 to come and drop arms and ammunition in Baramulla. We've arrested that guy, Ali Babar, and now we have this video where there is a Pakistani sitting there and explaining to a terrorist how to assemble, dismantle, and operate an AK-47 rifle.
Well, Anand, interestingly, for a long time, the only reason that Pakistan has not been in the blacklist is because it was banking on three specific boards in the FATF voting. One was Turkey, the other two being Malaysia and China, and Hong Kong vote being another. So this time, once Turkey is in the FATF, grey list, and it cannot vote, the possibility of Pakistan getting blacklisted gets even more profound. And let's understand, however much I might be very critical about United States and for what all they have done in Afghanistan, I'm sure they have not forgotten what the Pakistanis did, especially the entire attack on National Resistance Front, and openly saying that we use American money to defeat the Americans. So I think the possibilities of blacklisting is very high. And let's understand, even if they go into the blacklisting, there is a large amount of hawala money unorganized in the unorganized sector that actually funds terrorism, and that perhaps sadly is going to continue. Even if an FATF blacklisting happens, even if FDI in any case doesn't exist in Pakistan, situation is not going to improve for India. What I would always say that, the video that you're showing, it's actually again another proof. But even if we have abrogated Article 370, Pakistan has accepted it as a fait accompli. At least internally they accept, but they will not going to give up terrorism. The low intensity conflict is going to go on. And what we are facing today is basically a 24/7, 365 days, 360-degree hybrid war. And so it is not only in Kashmir, they're going to spread the tentacles, and they've already started doing it in Punjab, putting in narcotics, trying to fund the fault lines and fissures in India. All these are going to go on. And for India, it is not just important to have a very strong counter-infiltration grid, which we already have, but also to make sure that we go for the non-contact warfare, because their objective, Pakistanis know that if they try to infiltrate, they will get killed. But they will also try to kill Indian soldiers, and this time this has happened. Go for the non-contact warfare. Use armed drones to kill. Don't put your soldiers at the dangerous end. And at the same time, improve the capacity building of law enforcement intelligence agencies like Enforcement Directorate, NCB, right. NIA is so very important.
But all of this, Pathikrit, on the one hand, now I'll come to the Amit Shah visit to Jammu and Kashmir in just a bit, but let's just focus on the Mandar encounter. Today is day 11 of the encounter continuing, and it's still on. How is it that in a 45 square kilometer area of jungle between Poonch and the Mandar sector, how is it that there is so much of arms and ammunition that a group of terrorists can survive for 11 days? How did these arms drops happen? Multiple hideouts have been busted. The army continues to press on the operation. How is it that in Mandar, the operation still continues? So somewhere they have recalibrated and evolved. As we've tightened our security grid, they have looked at multiple other options on how to orchestrate drone drops, how to drop arms and ammunition, use the natural caves as hideouts. So we have to tighten our grid. We can't have a situation where we have lost 9 Jawans here.
Absolutely. And that's what, Anand, I keep on repeating, that the non-contact warfare is so very important to use armed drones. So unfortunately, we have actually bound our own hands. Nobody stops us from using armed helicopters, armed drones to destroy instead of sending the foot soldiers. Today the situation is such that Pakistanis know if they try to infiltrate the terrorists may die. But they would, before dying, try to kill as many Indian soldiers as possible. So that is one aspect we have to get into. Use for non-contact architecture for warfare. And secondly, yes, it is a reality. Drone dropping is one. There are so many porous regions in the entire forest parts of the borders where it is very difficult to have fencing. Sensors are being put up, but there are a lot of complexities because of weather conditions. Dimensions of warfare is changing so fast that we cannot have a static view of it. We are still sending soldiers. See the war between Azerbaijan and Armenia. The Azerbaijan is simply won it by using armed drones. Today, nobody stops us from using those sensors.
No, but the point is that, Pathikrit, somewhere we are catching up. We are playing catch up. We should have been aware of the fact that they will be using drones and they will use this. By the time we have caught those drones, some of those drones had already made 15 to 20 trips before they were brought down by our forces. So that is a serious aspect. Let's go across to Arunima. Arunima joining us from Srinagar now. Arunima, Union Home Minister Amit Shah, it's his birthday today, but he is going to be in Jammu and Kashmir, and there is a certain level of understanding of the security grid which has been put down in Jammu and Kashmir, and there are indications that there could be a certain level of heightened terror activity ahead of his visit. What's on agenda?
At least that's the attempt of terror groups to try and embarrass the administration, try and disrupt the Home Minister's visit. Now, this visit by the Union Home Minister is significant on multiple counts. First, this is the first time that he's coming to the valley after piloting the bills which ended the special status of Jammu and Kashmir, created Ladakh, a separate union territory, and made Jammu and Kashmir into union territory as well. He was the face of the union government when those bills were brought in the parliament. Since then, he hasn't visited the valley, and you can see there, Guneet, will just show you, these are cavalcades moving on the main streets of Srinagar. Heightened security movement, the entire top brass of the security establishment, the IB chief, the DG of CRPF, the Director General of NIA, they are all here, the top brass of the Indian Army, they're all meeting up to ensure that everything goes without any glitch. But there are intelligence inputs that in Srinagar specifically, there could be attempt to carry out a terror strike, and therefore, after a security review meeting, we are told additional 25 companies of paramilitary forces have been sent here. At various thanas throughout Srinagar cities, you will see two-wheelers, bikes being seized. People are not being allowed to move around on their two-wheelers much, especially those who have suspected to be in any way associated with stone pelting or law and order, because I think the intelligence input is terrorists could carry out an attack and take these two-wheelers to flee. That's why the two-wheelers have been seized as well. Internet activity have been slowed down in some areas. Additionally, there are choppers keeping an eye in the sky. There was one chopper hovering just a few seconds ago. There's also a drone grid that has been created to keep an eye on colonies of Sikhs as well as colonies of Pandits, because they seem to be the soft target, the vulnerable population. And as I speak to you, you can see the second round of patrolling happening over the Jhelum bridge. This is the main road stretch from the airport towards Dal. Multiple cars of the security grid moving ahead, keeping an eye on the situation here. So that's what Srinagar looks like ahead of Home Minister's visit, which begins tomorrow.
Well, there will be the security drills, but this is October, this is peak apple harvest season. So if you do get the chance amidst a very, very tight schedule that is going to be there, go ahead and see what the growers are doing between saffron and the apple orchards, because that is something which we are given to understand is a bumper crop this time in Kashmir, especially in the valley. But in the meantime, we've got another update coming through, and this is again your input, that the 23 terror associates or OGWs of overground workers and those providing terror ecosystem and logical support are being actually taken to Delhi, and from Delhi they will now be lodged in a central jail in Agra. Now that is also a significant move, Arunima, that this is happening. That entire list of OGWs now being moved out of Jammu and Kashmir, and they will be lodged in jails outside of Jammu and Kashmir.
Yes, this is an order dated 21/10/2021. So this order was issued yesterday. Just reading out the operative portion. In exercise of the powers conferred under Section 10B of the Jammu and Kashmir Public Safety Act, the government hereby directs to remove or shift the below mentioned detainees who have been detained under the provisions of the PSA from the present place of lodgement to the central jail, Agra, Uttar Pradesh. And there is a list of 26 OGWs lodged at various places, from district jail Baramulla to Kot Bawal in Jammu to other places in Srinagar, but mainly Baramulla and Jammu. They're being moved to Agra. Earlier also, if you remember, just ahead of August 5th, 2019, when those crucial laws were passed by the Indian Parliament, a number of people detained under Public Safety Act were moved to various jails in Uttar Pradesh, Agra, Bareilly, other parts of UP. They were moved out of Jammu and Kashmir because the suspicion was that even from inside the jail, they were operating in a way to disrupt the law and order situation in Jammu and Kashmir. So this should be seen in that backdrop. Once again, as terror activity is heightened, there is a crackdown against OGWs. OGWs. NIA has carried out arrests. Searches happened this morning also. And at the same time, this order has come whereby 26 OGWs are being moved out from Jammu and Kashmir jails to Agra.
Well, absolutely. But today is also, like I said, the 22nd of October. And these are visuals of Kashmiris who are standing and singing the national anthem and while observing Black Day. 22nd of October 2021 has been is being observed as a Black Day to commemorate what happened on the 22nd of October 1947. There are hoardings that have been put against Pakistan, calling out the rape, massacre of innocents which happened in Jammu and Kashmir, and also calling out Pakistan for handing over an integral part of Jammu and Kashmir to the Chinese. So these posters have been seen all across, and this is a huge group of people. If I can show you these visuals, it's a huge group of people who have stood there singing the national anthem, standing with the tricolour. And this is a big sentiment there in Jammu and Kashmir now, the sea change, that those who were muted earlier are now standing up, and there is an outright rejection of terror and Pak-sponsored violence in Jammu and Kashmir. Arunima. Arunima, if you can hear me, hoardings marking Black Day, 22nd of October, and also people standing there showing solidarity, not just with the tricolour, but calling out Pakistan.
Vehicles are belonging to the government.
I think I think there is some security movement, and because of that, we are losing Arunima there. Those jammers coming into play. Now she's back with us.
Top level security arrangements are being done because there are inputs to suggest that specifically in Srinagar there could be heightened terror activities. So what are the steps that have been taken to keep an eye in the sky? There is a drone grid that has been created. These drones will specifically keep an eye on minority colonies, which means colonies of Sikhs and Pandit communities. Recent civilian killings, we've seen how they were targeted. So that's the first thing. Second, there have been CCTV cameras equipped with facial recognition technology that have been put in. So any OGW or any suspect who comes in the...
Absolutely. We'll go back to Arunima in just a bit. But Pathikrit, these visuals are important. These are significant. The fact that they have stood there, the hoardings that have been put up, the rejection of Pakistan and Pak-sponsored terror, and for people to come out and sing the national anthem, standing behind the tricolour, and then put this out. This is significant, and this is a message which is going out to the world, that so far what was being peddled was the false narrative, and today people have got the courage, because it was an atmosphere of fear that was spread earlier, and today they are free to stand there and express their solidarity not just with the tricolour, their love for India, but also their rejection of Pak-sponsored terrorism, and they are questioning China.
Oh, absolutely, Anand. And I think it's a massive transformation from the days of 1990s to what we see right now in 2021. And the credit goes to the security agencies, the central government, the local government, the state government, and of course the people of Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir. But let me also mention this, that even as the integration of Kashmir economically and people-wise with the rest of the country is happening at a very fast pace, there are elements from the deep state of Pakistan who would try to disrupt that. And the killing of the migrant laborers was aimed at primarily because of that. Because those killings actually impact the Kashmiris and their businesses as well. And they were hoping that there will be retaliation and reciprocatory violence on the Kashmiris in rest of India. We have to be very careful that there will be attempts of sabotage that will be tried and attempted by the deep state of Pakistan to disrupt this activity. And while, it would be very important that, for analysts and for politicians, while they make statements, they have to be very cautious, because the general average Kashmiri today is not with the terrorists. They are fed up. Sometimes their protests are muted because they are scared for the lives of themselves and families. But we have to stand by them. They have shown courage. The country will have to show courage and embrace them. And yes, this integration is actually showcasing the world how to do integration, unlike what the Chinese do in Xinjiang province through concentration camps. We haven't done that. And that is for that the credit goes to the security agencies, the central government, the state government, and the people. And that shows how a democracy is far better than the hegemony that we see in China. Anand.
True. 22nd of October 1947, the Pakistan army sent in and pushed and hid among Kabylis, raiders, and tried to portray it as raiders invading Jammu and Kashmir, but it was the Pak army personnel who did so, and they raped innocent women, they killed children, they killed people, and they targeted it. It was an ethnic cleansing which was deliberately done, attacking Hindus, Sikhs, and Christians. Now, today on 22nd of October comes a video which shows another Pakistani trying to teach a terrorist how to operate an AK-47. So from then to now, they have not only been fostering pan-Islamism, hate, and deliberately trying to vitiate and foment terror on Indian soil. And this is something which the world needs to take cognizance of. Pathikrit Pain, stay with us. We got more news coming through, and this is a big development today. And going across to this, where a high-speed expendable aerial target or HEAT was actually successfully flight tested today by the DRDO from the Integrated Test Range or ITR Chandipur off the coast of the Bay of Bengal in Odisha. It's a drone that will be used as a target for various missile systems. We'll try and connect with Shreya Dhondial for more details. Yes, Shreya.
Let me tell you what this is. You have rightly pointed out. HEAT essentially is a practice tool for the armed forces. Very important. It is launched from a mobile launcher with the help of two 68mm booster rockets, which are being manufactured at all these factories. And at the end of its launch phase, the burnout booster rockets thereafter the main gas turbine engine powers the vehicle during the crucial phase. Very importantly, we've already seen one over the Bay of Bengal. In fact, the first time we had successfully flight tested Abhyas, I beg your pardon, was on 22nd of September 2020. Now, what will its usage be? I think that's something that our viewers should know. Abhyas's radar cross-section is called the RCS, as well as its visual and infrared signatures can be augmented to simulate a variety of aircraft for air defense weapon practices. It can also function as a jammer platform and decoy. The HEAT system is utilized to do away with the post-launch recovery mode, which is time-consuming and very difficult, especially in scenarios of testing at sea.
Right. Are they now going to make it in a mass scale, and where all is it going to be put to use now that it's been successfully tested? I think we've lost Shreya Dhondial there, but a great achievement, another feather in the cap for the DRDO, and kudos to the entire team of scientists there who've been laboring very, very hard to protect the country. So from COVID-19 to counter-terrorism to defense, securing our country seems to be their motto, and they are committed to that. Now, we also caught up with former National General Secretary of the BJP and senior RSS leader Ram Madhav, who spoke about the security situation in Jammu and Kashmir and how things are different post the abrogation of Article 370.
Today is the 22nd of October, and you are a student of history too. So 22nd October 1947 was the time when Pak army sent those raiders and what they perpetrated over Jammu and Kashmir. It's also the day and time when we found Pakistani videos trying to teach people how to fire an AK-47. So this is purely a pan-Islamic movement or a politically fueling Islam for a political purpose that pushes the narrative. How should India respond to this? Is it time for us to move collectively to deem Pakistan a terror state?
We are dealing with this challenge in Kashmir very well in last many years. I would say for many decades now. We have learned so much in the last 30 years, ever since terrorism got mainstreamed in Jammu Kashmir, especially in Kashmir Valley. So today, whatever efforts Pakistan may make, they cannot succeed because we have strong security apparatus in place in Kashmir, and more importantly, we have strong political will at the Delhi level. So there is no question of them succeeding anymore in the Kashmir Valley. I can tell you, after Pulwama, they could not really undertake any spectacular terrorism incident also in the valley.
Correct.
One of the important reasons is even people of the valley are simply not in favor of any more terrorism and violence and killings and all that. And of course the establishment, security establishment is very strong. So as far as Pakistan is concerned, our line has been consistent, government's line has been consistent. it is the epicenter of global terror.
Yeah.
Not just for India, for the entire world. If terror emanates from any one country, that is from the safe haven of Pakistan. We have been talking about it on all fora. Doesn't mean we are hyphenating ourselves with Pakistan. We are not equal. We are way ahead.
Correct.
Yet, Pakistan is no longer just a headache for India, but it is a global danger. Is one thing we have been highlighting. When very recently we did it at the United Nations also, Security Council also. We must continue to do that.